Hello everyone, this is Xande Ribeiro. I'm here to present you the revolution of the Jiu-Jitsu game. So what I'm going to show you guys in this part of this DVD, the instructionals, is how can you apply Budokan mobility into already existing Jiu-Jitsu techniques. One thing that I've been known a lot for being a good mover, but guess what? I found out I was a white belt in moving, but I was a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. So the moment that I found out the concepts that Budokan bring into the game, it made my jiu-jitsu way more effortless. You know, I'm able to move freer, I'm able to even understand my own game a little better. Sometimes it's not about picking more techniques into your arsenal, it's how can you make your own technique even better. And Budokan mobility is the one that's going to guide you to that process.
Hi guys, my name is Cameron Shane. I'm the founder of Budokan University. We teach movement languages at our university, 3 specific languages for conditioning, yoga, mobility, and calisthenics, and 2 languages for combat, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and stand-up striking or Muay Thai. The most important thing for this educational experience for you is that we get you connected with mobility. And what is mobility? Mobility is a reflection of how the joints behave. The joint itself is reflected by 3 different qualities. Its 3 qualities will be flexibility, strength, and the health of the tissue of the joint. So some of the most common questions I get from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys is, how do I do this longer? How do I, like you, I'm almost 50 years old. How do I stay as healthy as you are, as mobile and fluid as you are into my 50s? What are you doing? What's the secret to this work? And what's interesting is when I started working originally with Rafael Lovato Jr., who then introduced me to Xande Ribeiro, I was a brown belt. I am a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu. Thought my Jiu-Jitsu was, solid as a brown belt, but I knew my mobility was fantastic. What I learned from these guys was I really felt like a white belt because I really didn't know how to apply my mobility to my Jiu-Jitsu. And Xande talks about he's been figuring out how to apply his jiu-jitsu to the mobility and connect them. Well, I was experiencing the same issue. I was like, okay, I actually was not as clear as I am now because of him. And I have to say this very sincerely. Xande and I getting in the laboratory together and just working out how all of this mobility science connects to application in the jiu-jitsu world has been innovative, revolutionary, and has changed my game. It's changed Xande's game. It's changed Rafael's game. It's contributed to all of us becoming really much better movers in our individual areas of expertise. So that's what we want to share with you with this educational experience. We want to make you a better mover. We want to make your jiu-jitsu last longer. I want to keep you free from injury. I want to make your technique become precise and accurate. And I'm here, and Xande's here, hopefully to really take you to the next level in your game. So thanks so much for supporting us and joining us here at BJJ Fanatics. Guys, the first thing we need to talk about when it comes to Budokan mobility are the 5 primary positions of the body. So we're going to start off right now by taking a look at each position and a little bit of the conversation of how we might transition between them. So let's start off with primary position number 1, which is laying flat on your back. So this is basically called supine position or back. And you, from this position, are going to be transitioning to, say, your side body, to your belly, to seated. But this position is probably one of the most fundamental jiu-jitsu positions you're ever going to experience because you're going to be here all the time playing your guard. But you'll notice that Xande's already playing the position the way it should be. His head is lifted because he's already engaging his front line. His elbows are tight into his ribs. His knees are bent, heels at his butt. So he's already protecting his vulnerable space, and this would be the proper way to hold a belly up position or supine position. Can you just relax? This is not how you want to do it. Every time you're going to transition, you want to fire, get engaged, and then you'll transition from this engagement. So now let's move to belly down position, the opposite of this. So Same, look, yeah, notice what happens when Shanji relaxes. There's going to be no way for him to make a very efficient transition from here to any other position because he's going to have so much surface drag. His elbows are going to drag, his knees are going to drag, his chest is going to drag. So what he's going to do is he's going to fire his back line and lift. Now, you notice that the surface contact to the floor of his body is very minimal. That's going to allow him to be more efficient and quicker as he transitions. So let's transition from here to side body. So now, on his side body, same thing. A lot of times when guys are practicing, they'll relax. They'll let their head relax. They'll be here. Again, all incorrect if you want to have efficient movement. So what you'll notice about him here, when he fires, he'll fire through his obliques, his side body. He'll be tight. And look at how he's already guarding or keeping this space closed, this vulnerable space here. His head is lifted, hands are in front, and he's already got his feet in great position on these very small edges that allow him to be nimble and quick and agile in his feet so he can take steps. So now, transitioning from here, let's take a look at seated position. So seated is basically, if you really, what's interesting about seated is that it looks exactly, you just be a mannequin for me for a second. It looks exactly, if you will, like supine. So when he comes up, he's just making the same shape and he's engaging the same primary areas, okay? So you'll notice connection of knee and elbow. You'll notice front body crunch or engagement of the front line. Now, our final position, because this is upright, which, by the way, upright covers any position. Right now, I'm upright. I'm upright. I'm upright. So upright covers head over hips. Now we're going to go and reverse that to inversion. So now we've got hips over the head. And you'll notice in this position, again, he still has to be combat oriented. He can't be super chilled out. He has to be able to defend himself even when he's in inverted position. Exactly. So you'll notice that, let's say if he were practicing yoga, he could relax completely, be soft. This would not be a combat ready position. So for you, when you're inverted, you need to still be engaged. You need still contact. You need to still be defending and keeping your space guarded. And now take it on back down and boom, sit up. And that would cover our 5 primary positions. Now we're going to talk about spirals and steps. Spirals and steps actually complement one another and they work off of each other. It's hard to create a spiral in the body without a step. But first, let's talk about the spiral itself. And the concept of a spiral, as it would be in contrast to the body rolling like a log, is what we're going to first cover. And I'm going to use Shanji's body for us to take a look at anatomically how this actually, plays out. So Shanji, lay down flat for us. Sweet. And now turn this way for us. Okay. So guys, notice this. First thing from a grappling standpoint is this. Sometimes your chest is locked to the floor. Sometimes your hips are locked to the floor. So the concept of a spiral is that if Shanji's chest is locked to the floor, he still has the ability, as you can see, to spiral or rotate his lower trunk. Okay, bring that back. If this gets locked down, he still has the ability to turn his upper trunk. That is a spiral. As opposed to hip and shoulder trying to move at the same time, which mentally for you, if your hip is locked down and you connect movement to shoulder and hip, once this is locked down, you won't be able to move the whole body because you won't think of moving it in segments, if that makes total sense to you. So what I want you to understand right now is anatomically, let's take a look at this. It's very interesting. Just lay flat, Shanji, like a corpse. Perfect. If I take Shanji's arm and I just start pulling it this way, notice, and again, he's doing nothing. Just notice what happens to the hip. Slowly, 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 it comes with him and boom, there he is. Okay? So this is really interesting, that it tells you that the body naturally moves in spirals. You don't have to do anything to create this, because the body is connected laterally, cross-referencing itself constantly. So right shoulder to left hip and vice versa. So now let's talk about how the step creates the spiral. So Sean, bring your knees up into position. Excellent. And now he's engaged. You can see he's already created the perfect supine position, one of our primary positions. When he goes to step, you'll notice that he will leave his upper trunk in its starting position. He'll start, and now I want you to be very specific. I want you to pay specific attention to the way he sweeps his toe along the floor. Can you bring that back for me, Sean? Now, show them a step into position. No, this is not what we want to do. And Sean will explain this later in the jiu-jitsu portion, why we don't do that. So for you right now, in the mobility, you're going to keep that connection to the floor, and that's a forward step. Now this is a back step. He's coming back. And then he can forward step to me and back step to you. This is essential. I know it looks simple, but it's crucial, and a lot of people struggle with this really fundamental concept. Now, as Shanji takes that step forward, he keeps this. Now, you can already see, look, guys, if you don't have time for yoga in your practice, you're like, I only got so many hours in the week. This is where you start getting your stretches right here. You have to create this for yourself, because when he makes that rotation, he gets this nice cross-body step, and we as jiu-jitsu practitioners really need this for our low backs and the cross-referencing muscles that connect us. So as Shanj turns, now, you're going to notice that at this point, you've reached the end. There's no more step. He's going to now have to keep the lift, and he's going to have to start making the rotation of the upper trunk occur. That's where the spiraling continues. He's on his belly. Now watch this. Now that he's on his belly, instead of him initiating the lower trunk first, he initiates the upper trunk first. So he rotates upper trunk, then the low trunk catches up, and that's how the spiral will work. So let's walk back one more step. So when I'm on my back, my legs initiate the movement. So watch. He's on his back, legs initiate, the spiral begins. He finishes the spiral in a prone belly down position. He wants to reverse the spiral. Chest goes first, legs second. So when I'm on my belly, the chest initiates. When I'm on my back, the legs initiate the spiral. But one or the other has to be left behind. That's what creates a spiral. Now, as opposed to, again, if Shanji goes to step this and takes the shoulder with him at the same time, he just rolls over. And that is inefficient movement, and it's not going to create the world-class level movement that a guy like this moves at. So for you guys out there, you want to take it up a notch, you're going to have to clean up all the details of your transitions. And that's what we're doing here today. This technique, guys, is called prone to supine overhead transition. We're going to look at 3 different types of transitions. We'll begin our first one with the overhead. We'll move to the chest, and then we'll finish with the hips. So first, let's take a look at this guy. So I'm going to show you this from several different angles. So if you can't see it perfectly right now, I'm going to switch for you. So the first thing I want you to understand in this, we're coming back to the step and the spiral. So when I'm on my back, and I take that first step, and I'm engaged here, and I begin to lift, and sometimes I say this for the students just to get them to remember, slick their hair back. So when you bring your low arm, which I say low arm, high, the one that's away from the floor, and the one that's nearest to the floor. So as you step, the elbow that's nearest to the floor, the low arm, begins to reach over. The legs, and I want you to notice what the legs are doing. Look how the legs spread out, and you stay lifted, and you rotate the other elbow in, and now look what the legs do. Look how they come in and contract. So what's interesting about this transition is you see expansion during the belly down position and contraction during the supine or belly up position, because I'm protecting myself. When I make this transition right now, look, I'm very tight. Therapeutically, I'm getting a very nice shoulder rotation, and I'm using my back line to fire and spreading out, and look, big expansion to, again, contraction to come back. So you can see the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu showing up in something that is primarily for you a conditioning or therapeutic transition. It's amazing for your back, it's amazing for your shoulders, and it's great for the low back twist spiraling action we're getting right now. So one more time, I'm going to start actually over here for you guys, show you as I move across the floor. So I'm going to take a step, rotate, move, and I'm here. Now I'm going to do it one more time, coming at you from this angle. So again, there's my forward step, lifting, opening, transition. Forward step, spiral, rotation, and I'm here. So what you'll notice about a transition like that is the sensitivity that is required for you to stay lifted, stay away from the floor. Those are the little details that I want you to keep in mind. I want to feel as little drag, surface drag in my body as possible. Now, I'm going to use Shanji right now to show you with a body outside of mine what this looks like. So, again, he's here. He takes his forward step. Now, immediately, he slicks his hair back. And now, notice how much of this, is lifted. He's got to fire all through his obliques, his side body. As he makes this rotation, he stays just on his belly. He needs all this lifted, beautiful. And he's on his toes. Another very important thing, you need to be on your toes. Don't be flat on your feet. Don't be lazy. Right now, his quads are firing and he's lifted. So as he rotates, right now, all this is firing. He's firing. As he comes back and he comes into his supine position, he's completely connected. So there's no time in this transition you're resting. So he's going to go one more time towards camera, towards you guys. Yes. Boom, 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 boom. Beautiful. And reconnect. Now he's going to come all the way back to me. Rotation. Spiral. Keep going, Sean. Good. Keep going. Spiral. Boom, boom. Beautiful. Hold. Excellent. So guys, that is the belly to back or back to belly, prone to supine transition with arms overhead. The next technique that we're going to work with is, again, prone to supine transition across the chest, or what I call the middle. So we'll do one high, middle, low. Right now we're at the middle transition. So this is an interesting transition, not only for you to get a feel of the spiral and the step, this is going to add a little bit of strength building in as well. So let's take a look at the transition. Okay, so guys, let me start here because you can see me a little bit better, I think, from here. So when I take my forward step, and I want you to notice something, I haven't mentioned it yet, but I want to say it now. When I take my forward step, you saw both Shanji and I really staying focused on just the tips here of the toe and the outer edge of the foot, so that when we lift up, we've got leverage. We're connected to the floor. So don't be flat or relaxed here, as I said, but be here in this. There's a slight bit of tension and connection to the floor at all times. So when you step, you've got that tension already there. So now I step, the tension is there, my hands are here, elbows against my ribs. I'm going to reach towards you guys. I'm going to reach out. And when I reach, these two guys are typically going to reach together once this gets sort of in flow. So I'm going to reach and I'm going to slide. You can already, I'm just going to kind of reverse that for you, just so you can start to see what's going to happen here. I'm going to reach, slide. Now, did you just see me back step towards you? Because I started a back step, and I've got to either transition across my chest here, or something I like to do. I bring my arms overhead, and I come back here. That is purely for mobility. You will not use that, obviously, in jiu-jitsu, because I'm never going to just open up and expose my vulnerable section here by having my hands over. So this is very specific to conditioning or mobility for the shoulder. So just make that distinction for yourself. Stylistically, totally fine for you to do that. So I start with side body usually. I might bring it overhead, totally fine, and then immediately reach, slide. Now watch the back step that occurs off my right foot. Back step, turn me over, and I just keep reaching. So I'm going to go this way now. Over, reach, slide, over, reach, bump. Now, let's make this a little tougher and add in a little bit of strength building element to it. I'm going to back step, and let's just say I keep my hands in my chest this time. I don't take them overhead. I back step, keep my hands tight. I come here. I press. I come down. I shift back. Notice what's happening here. As I lower down, I lower onto my forearm, then onto my shoulder, and then I'm back. So one more time for you guys. Let me try it at a different angle for you. So I'm here. I take my step. I reach. And this time, I'm not going to reach too wide, because if you don't have a really strong push-up, then you may want to keep your hands more narrow. So I keep my hands narrow. I rotate. I press. I come down. I shift, back step, and I'm back to supine position. Good. Let's have Shanji come in and let's take a look at it with a different body type. Okay, same concept. Okay, so Shanji, scoot. I was going to say good. So guys, as he comes over, we're going to do this to you too. He's going to reach to me, and he's just going to start transitioning to the belly down. He can press from here. He can take it back down and slide back in position. Okay, now he's going to come to you with this. So he transitions with a forward step. He reaches. He can slide. Just do one where you slide across. He slides to the other arm. He pushes away. He ends up in side body. Then he's going to back step to supine again. This is pretty straightforward. Sean, just rotate, give them a different angle on this. Excellent. You haven't seen this angle. This is good. Okay, so one more time. Forward step. Watch the reach. Watch the reach. Watch the reach. Watch him shift. Look at that nice transition across. Then he back steps. And then he's in supine position. So this is a pretty physical transition. Much more physical than the first one. So I like to add this one in to warm up the shoulders, build some strength, and also what I love about this transition, guys, I love this lowering down and pushing away off that one arm. Such an interesting way to play with the shoulder as like a single arm push-up and mobility, sort of investigation of mobility of the shoulder. So nice for rehabbing the shoulder or just building general strength. So guys, this technique is called prone to supine while threading the hip. As you are following along, because you're probably right now on the third variation here, we've been going over the head, we went across the chest, and now we are at the hip. So in each of these variations, it's really about where we've placed the arms. When you're practicing especially jiu-jitsu or some type of grappling, are your hands, they oftentimes get in different positions of the body, okay? So why we're looking at 3 variations of this is because we want to understand, well, what happens when my hands are low? What happens when my hands are here? What happens when my hands get up here? And I want a relationship with my arms in all 3 positions of the body. So now let's take a look at the relationship here. So let's start with this, and I'm going to come to you guys again this way. So I'm here. Overhead. Now watch this guy. Okay, we do it one more time. Overhead. Look at this guy. Literally, and what's interesting about this, and Shanji's going to go over this really in detail during the jiu-jitsu application of the work, is taking this elbow and driving it back. This is what I do not want you to do. I don't want you to extend the arm and just robot that arm under your body. I want you to purposely reach back with your elbow. I'm going to have you see it from this angle. Reach back. Look at that difference between that and this. So I'm going to reach back, and then I'm going to thread that arm out to you. Okay? As I switch to the other arm, this back arm is going to then come back into position, and I'm going to create my frames again. Okay? So, let me do it a couple times in transition. Here, take it overhead, thread it out, bring it across, bring it back. Here. Now, you might notice I'm doing something really interesting with my shoulders. And that is that I'm rotating them in this manner. Because when I reach, the palm goes up and the palm goes down. The palm goes up and the palm goes down. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set my shoulder into its most natural position. When I transition this way, here, my shoulder's most natural position is eventually, when I'm here, going to be palm down. If I'm palm up right now, it's got my whole shoulder rotating, which is not the most powerful position for pressing or leverage. There's leverage. Now I can engage and I can lift. But here, not. So you'll notice when I go here and I reach out, I'm going to start going palm down. Then I go palm up to bring the arm through. So when I want to bring my arm back in front of my body, I go palm up, twist, and bring it to this guarded position. One more thing I have not mentioned yet with the feet. When my feet transition over, you're also going to notice with the forward step, there's going to also be a scissoring style action in my legs that is going to create a rotation of my hip to the ground. So I'm going to use the overhead for this. Boom. Okay? So I want to just add that in. That's going to be in every one of these transitions. As I come over, rotate, down. So it doesn't matter if I go thread. There's always a scissoring action that occurs that brings me back to here. This creates a beautiful and powerful rotation in the hips that gives you strength. And again, Shanji's going to talk about how you apply that to your jiu-jitsu during the jiu-jitsu application techniques. So I think that pretty much gives you the most visual demonstration. I want to bring Shanji out now to take a look at a different body type. Shanji, you come over for this. Okay. So guys, he's on his back. Now we're going to do it one more time. He takes, now again, you might notice you're always going to end up in side body first before you go anywhere. He doesn't go straight to his belly. He goes to side. You're always going to do that. So supine to side to prone. So now, Notice what he does with it. Watch that bottom elbow. Watch it. Watch it as he draws it back. He pulls it back. And now he goes belly down position. And he makes the rotation. Beautiful rotation. And watch that arm as he brings it back in. And he's back to his beautiful open guard, strong back position. One more time. He steps to me. Watch that bottom elbow. Aye, there it is. He reaches. He goes belly down. He makes his rotation. He gets small again. Watch how he gets into contraction. And boom, he's back to position. And that is our transition.